Thanks for joining us today, whether it be during your lunch break or just a break. I appreciate that. FYI, our free webinars are out. We're going to have a budget management webinar on the 14th of October. If you can't make it, it's from 1 to 2:30 p.m. Central Time. Go ahead and register for it anyway, and you'll get the recording. Love to have you there live, but if you can't make it, we understand. You'll be able to do that. And also it'll be posted on our YouTube channel, along with these other free webinars dealing with the APR. We got the SSS one in case you're involved with that, but we have the Talent Search APR coming up on the October 22nd. All these are from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Central Time. Again, if you cannot make it, go ahead and register. You will get the recording, or we'll also put it on the YouTube channel, our YouTube channel. And we've got for EOC as well, I believe, later on in the, on November 12th. Okay. Keep in mind, we also offer these are free, but we do offer APR technical assistance workshop, technical assistance hours packages, whether it be 4, 8, 12, 16, 20 hours, where we meet with you individually via Zoom, and we help you actually through a series of appointments, meetings that can stretch out weeks, help you with your APR in case you're a new director or you've inherited something, or it's your first time going through it. Maybe you're a director for another program, but first time doing it for Talent Search or EOC or any of these. Let us know, and we can send you a contract or information about that, or you can go to our webpage here and look for that information. Also wanted to bring up before we get started into our Q&A here, we do have our EOC and Talent Search proposal writing courses ready to go. You can get the on-demand recording links if you'd like. And of course, you can listen to them on your schedule. We are strongly recommending for the same cost, the writing courses. They're a little bit more structured, take you through with quizzes at the end of every session, and also a list of things that you could do kind of to solidify, help you out there. And of course, all of these are on demand on your pace. So really recommend those. You can check those out. Now, the APR technical assistance, that is an allowable cost, okay? But anything dealing with proposal writing is not an allowable cost. You'll have to use indirect funds or institutional or agency funds for anything dealing with proposal writing. That's why we meet during lunchtime, because we're not supposed to be working on getting federal funds while getting paid out of federal funds, okay? So that's why it's during lunch, weekends, after hours, comp time, all that good stuff. That's the way it's supposed to be. We also have other switching back to allowable costs in case you have some new staff in both Talent Search and EOC. We have our online course. This is allowable, where it's like a perfect onboarding. It's broken out into 8 workshop sessions, and it has a way that they can track where they're at, and also you get they get a badge for completing that. So it's really good for onboarding, again, on demand. It's a certain cost per project staff that would like to do that. And then we've also got the recordings of our professional on-demand recordings if you just want it to be not as structured, and just have the links to the recordings. That's also available there, okay? But we do recommend the courses. People tend to like that structure. It's still on their schedule, and it's really great when you're onboarding or have a lot of new people coming on board or want to refresh on something. It could be an annual thing. We will update these on an annual basis, so you have access to all the latest and greatest for a year. And then we've got some other services here. Remember, professional development is allowable, but anything dealing with proposal development is not. Okay, so that's the difference. Proposal, no. Professional development, yes. Or technical assistance with APR, yes. But not technical assistance with your proposal. That is not an allowable cost. Okay, enough said about that. Let's see if we have any questions, any burning issues about anything. I mean, we usually spend this time talking about proposal things, but if there's anything that's out there that you have a question about or would like to talk about, please let us know. And let me see if we have any questions right now. We have chat. Anyone? I've got some things we could talk about, but let's see here. Let me see everyone there. Okay. And no Q&As right now. I don't see any Q&A. No open questions. Okay. Well, let me see here. Let me take you through a tour. I uploaded a couple of new documents in the Lunch and Learn Google Drive. So I'm going to switch over to that. And again, I'm infamous for sharing my screen and talking like everyone knows what I'm talking about. I'm not sharing the right screen. You should be seeing the Google screen, and I'm going to the Lunch and Learn folder. We're okay with that? Thumbs up. You can see that. I'm on the right page, literally. You'd think with so many screens, I could see what I'm
Yes.
sharing. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right. So a couple of things I uploaded here. As you know, we divided into Talent Search and EOC, but some things that are across the board pretty open. There's something that this actually came from something that I received that someone said they received from COE. So you might have received it. It's this grant writing and for Trump era strategies here. It's a really good document. It's in the Google Drive. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger. I don't know, Teresa, if you've seen this. I don't know if I shared it with you or you've seen it yet. So here's another thing developed by the Thorn Run partners on how to deal with this current landscape and about trigger words as well. Maybe this is something that we get it or we're trying to get it right, but we've probably been maybe a little bit more exposed to it possibly than our PIs on the grant, our supervisors at the college or at the agency that are 100% institution or agency funded that are ultimately responsible for the grant. But maybe it takes a while since they're managing so many of the programs, or maybe they see it too from the other programs they manage. You may want to share this with them as well. I think this is something that's really helpful. It kind of says the challenge and the solution. And there's alternatives for trigger words here. We talked about this a little bit last time on how you should be looking at your 2021 submission and taking it apart, putting it into different sections, and then taking those sections through either looking through and comparing or uploading documents such as this and some other documents that we have with lists of trigger words and uploading it to something like ChatGPT and uploading your narrative and letting it go through. You want to double check this, always double check this to make sure that it's picking up on anything that might be a trigger word. And as y'all know, we've heard and it's happened we've actually seen where words do make a difference here. Folks have gotten canceled for having the word DEI and diversity in their GEPA statement, not even in their proposal, or having it mentioned in their applicant and community support section where a certain diversity department was going to help get the word out about the program. Interesting enough, I haven't heard too many people that I've talked to where it was in the quality of personnel, which I would have thought would be the first place, right, Teresa, where I would go if I was looking for this, I would go straight there because that second question begs for the word preference. And that's where we used to, would be, I think, the first place to go look. And I haven't run across anybody yet that's told me that they were canceled or they heard of someone being canceled because of something that wasn't a quality of personnel, interestingly enough. You maybe have come across, or some of y'all have maybe come across, Teresa. I don't know if you've have talked to anyone who's gotten canceled and if they've told you that was what the area that they got canceled in. Take a drink of water real quick. Not water, this is my water. Anyway, Teresa, if you could let me know if you have run across, somebody who got that or anyone out there heard of
I'm
people.
sorry, I was on mute. No, I have not.
No problem. So, yeah, isn't that crazy? You would think that that would be the first place I would look, but it's been in the applicant and community support
Mhm.
and also in the GEPA statement and in the plan of operation where someone describing the training that the staff would provide, they
Mhm.
mentioned they would get diversity training or in the budget, I think it was set aside to pay for certain types of training, which before we would have even noticed or said was an issue.
Yeah.
So anyway, that being said, it is a big deal. So I would go through here and do that. And here are some more trigger words and alternative phrases. And again, in ChatGPT, you could start a project in there and kind of upload and continue to upload lists of trigger words so it could cross-reference and check for you. But as always, you got to double check. You just can't go by what's listed there. But, yeah, I mean, bottom line is, we talked about last time that whenever possible, whenever it comes up, I'm going to say talent search eligible or EOC eligible. Okay, I'm not going to go back to the low income first generation. I may mention it once in the very beginning and say from this point forward, I'll refer to them as talent search or EOC eligible. And there's some more words here. Trying to figure out what the code, the color coding here is. Here with the integrated messaging. Guess I should, yeah, break. Oh, here it is down here. So, link to the, okay, so it looks like these are things that you can reword it to kind of fall under the administrative priorities, Teresa, here. I don't know if you could see that really well.
Yes, I see it.
So you see, it's kind of like letting you know, okay, instead of multicultural, you might want to do this because it should fit into falling under that. So not only they tell you what I like about this is not only are they telling you what to watch out for, but then they're telling you to, you know, somehow change that trigger word into something that could possibly fall under the administrative priorities is the way I see it. Okay. So takes a little longer to explain it. So, this was marginalized and now it's called extending engagement, enhancing community input. So I guess you could still have your cake and eat it too, is what
yeah. With a few more words.
Yeah, more words. I guess we're a bit efficient here, but no, you want to go ahead and do this and all that stuff. So it was a really good article. I got it from actually Lourdes sent it to me that she said COE had sent out. So hopefully you'll find this helpful. And it's a good little article, short and to the point, and doesn't go on and on and on. So that's what I like about it. So it is in the Google Drive for you all to check out, along with some other resources that we have listed. So let me close that. We also have from Gear Up, our friends in Gear Up, we also have a list of trigger words for that, for Gear Up. And we also have the executives, an overview of the executive orders and ED clarification, and another document here for compliance review. Okay, so that's the first thing I would do, y'all, is go, if you're an existing grant, if you have an existing program, I would break it up. I have to do that anyway to update, but then I would go through and look for those words and refine it, rephrase it, and also with that new memo, see where it can actually possibly be linked to the priorities under this administration. Okay. And like I said, still have your cake and eat it too in a way. Okay. Let's see. Any questions going on here? Let me see here. Oh, we have one. Let's see what that is. We have support from a local nonprofit, but no signed MOU as of now. Do we still include them in the narrative? Teresa, what would you say to that?
There's an element where you could include them minimally in the narrative. And because we're not at the point where we've got an RFP, I think that you should probably give them more time for you to get the MOU. I would go ahead and include them and then make the decision as to whether or not they will be removed or they just may be mentioned at a limited capacity in the proposal in the end. But right now, I don't see it as a problem to include them in the narrative. Just make sure you highlight that particular potential partner and make note of it so that when you go back and once the RFP has been submitted, then at that time you can make that decision.
Totally. I agree with you. And this is why this section takes as long as the need section. And so this is why you start working on it, or should have started working on it already. I hate to say that. I sound like my mother. You should have already been working on this. And a couple of things here. Number one, it all depends if you're a college or an agency. Okay, so I'm assuming you're a college. So if you're a college, then you must get letters. You must get, not letters, I'm sorry. You must get commitments from not only your college, the target schools, and community-based agencies. Notice I didn't say other colleges. Okay, you don't get any points if you mention your collaboration with other colleges. You know who gets points for that? Are agencies. I was at an agency. Teresa, when we wrote our proposals for Talent Search, I had to include commitments from the agency, Boys and Girls Club, and also the target schools, and
Right.
then not other agencies, even though we had a ton of those, but I had to list commitments from colleges and universities. That's the deal. So if you're in college, they're not interested in giving you points for how great you collaborate with other colleges. If you have room, if there's space, maybe you can add it at the very end of that section, but don't do it instead of the agency mention of agencies. And we talked last time or the time before about how it's not so much the number of agencies, it's more the quality of the commitment. So maybe these folks, I don't know what they do, but the question is, well, what are they going to give you? Is it something tangible? Is it space? Is it possible service providing to those students that are eligible for their services that are part of the Talent Search or EOC community? What are the 2 or 3 things that they will give you? Some nonprofits sounds great, but maybe it's just 1 or 2 things that would sound great if we're desperate for listing people, but maybe you don't need them after all. And nowhere, well, it does say, double check me, Teresa, I don't know, but I've got it in my head that I want to say that we have written commitments. It doesn't mean it has to be an MOU. It can be a letter of commitment. So maybe they think they have to give you an MOU. And people tend to get, or agencies, MOUs are a little bit more formal. Maybe they'll be more apt to give you a letter of commitment. And we've got sample MOUs and letters of commitment. And sometimes it takes people a while to give it to you. So that's why we give them a template, so it makes it a lot easier for them. They can customize it. So maybe there's a couple of things here, are they worth keeping on there? I mean, are they going to bring something, 2 or 3 things that you desperately or would look good to have and you need? Then, like Teresa said, I might keep them around and keep going back to them and see if I can get letters of commitment. And there's also something to be said about in the narrative. You want to make sure, although it's not an official, it's one of those unofficial rules, that it's going to be so competitive that I would, if I was a leader, don't hate me, but if I was a leader of a group of grant readers, reviewers, I would tell them, in that applicant and community support section, if they don't say that they have signed letters of commitment or MOUs on file right now from their agency or their college, or from the target schools, or from the agencies that they're working with, or from the colleges, take a point off. That's what I would say. And you know why? Because I hate to be vindictive, but it's been done to me. I've lost points because I didn't mention that we had letters of commitment or will, and then I got dinged because I said we will get letters, Teresa. I said the project will have letters. And they all took points off saying, you should have had them. So I was like, wow, I'm just telling you, I'm not making it up. I wouldn't have in a million years thought that, but I take that and I then try to, spread the word. Hey, they did me like this. They did me wrong like this. So I don't want you to lose that. So, you could, again, you could say when you get to that agency or the college commitment, you can say you either have a MOU or a letter of commitment from most of the following colleges or universities. Okay. So maybe if for some reason you don't, or maybe like Teresa said, I may not have them show up on the very last one. So I could say that I have letters of commitment or MOUs on file for everybody. So now's the time to start. And maybe you can make it a little easier for them by providing them with the MOU or letting them know, hey, I don't need an MOU. We don't have to get fancy like that. It can just be a letter of commitment, okay, to do that. But make sure to get platinum answer is you let the reader know you've got them on file, okay, one or the other, okay. So, Teresa, I think we have another question. I don't know if you want to go ahead and take it.
This question is, I see that I see that COE has training about budgets with new guidance for pre-college programs at a $350 cost. What are some things we need to consider? EOC here, so we do not have a lot of extras in our current budget. Um, I mean, I've always been a proponent of attending the sessions that really are going to make a difference for the work. There may be some additional things that Lisa can share, but when I was a trio director, I really tried to make it my business to attend the COE because they always gave me information that was helpful. Um, I'm not totally abreast of all the changes that have occurred from a budgeting perspective as it relates to the new guidance that's being provided. And so that's just kind of my source document. Of course, Lisa as well is a source document. But in general, I just, you know, um, yeah. I don't I'm not really sure how to answer that question at this point because I would just pretty much try to attend if I have the funds.
And that was the thing.
Yeah.
If you have the money to attend, and I heard it was $700.
Oh.
I don't know what, maybe it was $700 for another, but that's what I saw. Maybe that was the not, if you're not a member.
Mm,
I thought it was $700. I don't know why I saw that cost, Sharon. I don't know where you saw the 350, which is, and I think it's an hour and a half session. Again, if it all depends. If you have the money, yeah, go for it. We're doing an hour and a half budget management for free, but we're going to cover things such as which I was just working on earlier today, understanding some of the additional attachments, Teresa, that everyone received with their GANs. It looks like, every 5 years when you get refunded, you get a big long GAN that has all these attachments.
yes.
And so we're usually so very excited about getting funded, we kind of blow it off. Let's be for real. Okay. No one reads it all. And then the next year, when we get our GAN, it's just like 6 pages. We're like, okay, third year, 6 pages. Fourth year, well, guess what? I think everybody this time around, whether even if they're in the middle of their cycle, got a big long GAN. And what they're doing, it's not new stuff, because someone asked me about it, said, oh my God, look at all this new stuff. What's this all new stuff? Can you do a checklist or kind of review with me all this new stuff? I said, hey, it ain't new. It's just a reminder. There's nothing in your GANs that is new. It's just being rehashed or pointed out to you. Also, Teresa, I got a question from somebody saying, hey, well, they were SSS. They were like, oh, my president says that we don't have any money after this year. Like our funding runs out. What are we going to do? I said, hey, it's always been that way. We're always on annual. Just because you got a 5-year grant doesn't mean you're going to get 5 years. It's only 5 years if there's money in the bank. And this is an annual struggle. It's just been such a focus that people are like, oh my gosh, now it could be a real challenge. So the department, I mean, yes, there've been some modifications or some things are being done differently, but and some things like the cancellation, yeah, but all the other stuff in your GAN is not new stuff. It's stuff that they've always had the either brought up in our annual GANs, I mean, not annual, every 5 years GANs, and now reminding you of, or they're highlighting certain rights or privileges that they had and they're implementing them now, or they're letting you know, hey, this is the case. So it could be stuff that they're have always had the power to do but didn't implement. So people are thinking, oh my gosh, it's new. So anyway, long story short, we're going to do about 45 minutes of that when we have our our budget management webinar. I think it's on October 14th. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then the other 45 minutes, we're going to do a demonstration of something you all can build on your own on Excel on how to manage your budget. And so that you can keep track of any possible carryover. Because let's be for real, a lot of us have lost staff for whatever reason. So a lot of us are going to start having carryover, even though we're limping along, and it's just going to happen. A lot of these, I don't think anybody out there is 100% fully staffed. So that means every hour or every day that goes by, there's going to be extra funds in certain areas in personnel and fringe. And you got to be aware of that so you can shift it over to other areas like professional development, either with COE or with us, and in other areas as you go along, so that you don't end up with a lot of money to start spending at the last minute. And that looks kind of crazy or can be questioned, or, why are you spending it so late? All these other things. If you know ahead of time and can move that monies around, then you have a little bit more control of the situation. You can't control when positions are filled or how long it takes to hire, but you can control that carryover. So it doesn't end up to be an issue that you're spending like crazy, especially you all, this is your last year. So you might already have a lot of carryover that has already come in. So you definitely don't want to have any more of that. So anyway, when we have our budget management workshop, we're going to focus 45 minutes on, hey, what's the quote unquote new stuff, or rehash some of the financial key financial requirements that were part of the GAN, just to rehash, or where are those, checklist on that. And then the other 45 minutes moving to a demonstration on how you can take an Excel spreadsheet and start developing and tracking your budget in real time. And it'll be a recording. So if you want to mimic what's going on there, how she builds a spreadsheet in, what is it, do it yourself? I'm not a do it yourself person. Some are completely free of charge. Okay. If you want someone to do it for you, like, look, I have carryover, I don't have any time, that's something else we can talk to you all about and let you know about as a separate service. But everything we're doing, that free webinar, is something that you can do. The only difference is you may not have the time to do it, but it's nothing that's proprietary or like, oh, it's Excel. That's what it is. I'm not an Excel person. A lot of people are. You would think I would be. But it just shows you a method, or so if you're somewhat familiar with Excel, you could pick up on it. Or like I said, if you have carryover, you want someone to do it for you, you can. So we like to give people stuff that where they can walk away and actually do it themselves, or at least understand the concept and get someone on their team, or someone maybe like a graduate student or intern to build their Excel spreadsheet. We had talked about maybe the need to purchase like QuickBooks for nonprofits. And I talked to our budget management person. She looked at all our budgets for all the programs. And, when I told her that, we don't sell anything, we don't invoice anybody, we pay out, and she's like, oh, no, they don't need to be getting QuickBooks for nonprofit. That's too complicated. So she said, here, I'll show you how they can build their own spreadsheet so that they can reconcile with their agency or project's budget, but also kind of keep track on a monthly basis or in real time where the carryover is happening and how they can track their changes and all that stuff, so that you should know as a director what you have to the penny, even though your college or agency will be behind you, and then you can reconcile. She said, shoot, they can do that on their own. And I said, well, a lot of them don't have time or don't have a staff. And he goes, well, then we can do it for them. But it's nothing that they can't do on their own. So anyway, just to let you know. So to answer that question, if you got the money, go there. Ours is free, so you got nothing to lose but an hour and a half. So we're probably going to cover different things. So, if you got it, go to it. But ours is free. You got nothing to lose. You can't even, if you can't attend, get the recording, or we're going to put it on YouTube. You can watch it there. Okay. All right. So we have a question. Hey, Ray, we're developing a first-time talent search proposal. Ray, I mean, it's tough. I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't think it's going to happen with talent search. I don't think we're going to have any new ones this time around, because it's always been super competitive, super competitive. But I don't think the money's going to be there for a brand new one. It's got to be perfect, and then it's just going to sit there, and there may not even be enough money to fund that. So I'm sorry, but I just I have to keep it real, right? But the MOUs, the MOUs with DSI, Dallas College, and UNT Dallas, should we reference these in the proposal in addition to getting a letter of commitment for the proposed new talent search grant? Okay, so I'm guessing you already have established MOUs with they need to be updated every 5 years. They should be updated annually. Some legal departments may push that, but we could probably limp along with that. So on these MOUs, I mean, you can always include them. Oh, they're upward bounds. Well, you need to get them for moving forward. You should probably say for the pre-college programs, name Upward Bound and Talent Search, so they can both be on there separately. I mean, they can both be on there, but no, it wouldn't. I guess what you're saying is, can you use the Upward Bound ones and say that you have Talent Search ones? And then just say you have a letter of commitment for the proposed new ones. Again, you can say whatever you want to say in the grant proposal. And I've, not that you would do this, but I know people that have said, and I'm reading it. I've done compliance assessments, and these weren't the directors that wrote it. Okay. They either another director, another department. And one of the main things in a compliance assessment, believe it or not, is when we look in the administrative folder, there's a place for people to put their signed letters of commitment per their grant proposal. So I got to read the applicant committee support, and I specifically looked to see if they said that they were going to get letters of commitment or MOUs from certain entities. And they kind of had to do that in order not to lose points. But you don't want to just say it not to lose points and then don't follow up, because guess what? You get a compliance assessment, they're going to ask to see the signed letters of commitment, and they better not be dated the day of the visit. They should have been dated prior to you getting funded, at least. Really should have been prior to them being submitted. So, you want to make sure that if you say you have signed letters, it's how you, are they signed, are the MOUs for Upward Bound and Talent Search to begin with, which is fine to say. But I mean, in the new proposal, if you just say you have a letter of commitment, if that you're asking it was one better than the other, I think it's okay if it's just a letter of commitment. I don't have a problem with that as a reviewer. I think though, as in compliance, if I'm switching to another tone, if I'm looking at your letters of commitment, they better at least mention the Talent Search program as well as Upward Bound if they're combined. Teresa, I don't know if you have anything to say about that and the compliance issue. So this might be what you say in the proposal as opposed to what we find during a compliance assessment, which I believe they're going to start doing. I don't know how, but soon.
My perspective is pretty much like yours. It's important to be honest with be with integrity with what you're doing. And so, the element of, you have a memorandum of understanding, but if it does not speak specifically to talent search, then definitely you would want to, maybe you don't get a memorandum of understanding specifically for talent search, but a letter of commitment would suffice, which is a lot less rigid. I know that, in higher ed institutions, we tend to have to go through legal, with an MOU versus a letter of commitment. So, I think that, it would be, and it may be the same with regards to, public K-12 as well. So, I think a letter of commitment would suffice in this instance, which is, acceptable. But if the MOU does not include talent search, then I would go ahead and just get a letter. That way you're covered.
And you don't need to get both. You don't need to get both, a letter of commitment or MOU. I was thinking of referencing the MOU and data sharing agreement that we currently have, but then also getting the letter of commitment. However, I was really asking if it was wise to reference the UB MOU. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, I would only mention it if I had a combined one for Talent Search and UB, which I probably wouldn't, because to me, almost I'm thinking, I remember I really had, and also depends on the school district. The school district may dictate, look, we don't do letters of commitment, it's an MOU. So, and they control it. So if they demand an MOU, then you could talk about having it combined. But since you're on different funding cycles, that's what kind of triggers it might have to be separated. And, there may be different intensity with Upward Bound that we're looking for or need to have versus with Talent Search. Maybe, maybe not. Depends how you run the program. The data sharing agreement, again, letter of commitment can list there that, or the MOU that you have a data sharing agreement is fine. So if you're really asking about why is to reference the UB MOUs, if that's all you got where it's combined right now, then do it. But otherwise, I would not even mention your Upward Bound, MOU or your Upward Bound program. I would just act like it doesn't exist, except maybe in the plan of operation where it says other programs for talent search eligible youth, you could say that you collaborate with LULAC upward bound for students that are on their waiting list to receive, possible talent search services while they wait to be an upward bound, something like that. But I probably would keep it to a minimum. I don't want to confuse the readers. And also, if you can, keep the letters of commitment separate because they are different funding cycles, and the MOUs as well. If you can, sometimes it's not an issue. And again, it depends on what the school, maybe the school says, we just gave you an MOU. I'm not going to give you another one. Let's put it together. What are you going to say? No, you can say, okay, that's cool. So if it's both on there, then yes, you should briefly mention, please note this commitment is also, this MOU also includes the Upward Bound project funded through the agency that collaborates with the talents, its sister talent search program, that kind of thing. Okay. So definitely if it's on there and it says it, and it's a joint thing, do the joint thing. If it's not, try to keep it separate. It would be my preference. Okay. All right, let's see here. Thanks for the question though. And good luck on that new one. Just trying to keep it real. Just don't get your heart broken when it doesn't happen. But it's just, I'm just, look, it's a struggle just to keep the ones we have. Okay, right, Teresa, that's how I feel. I will be ecstatic to get everyone funded again because it's been a rough 5 years for a variety of reasons. A lot of people didn't meet their numbers, so they didn't get their full points. And some people that we're working with don't have any points. And so, or very few. So a little nervous about that. But starting a new one, we're not working on any new ones. I mean, people can do that on their own time, but we're not going to spend any time cultivating any new ones because that's how competitive we think it's going to be. So by all means, not trying to get, such a Debbie Downer, right? But just, also take care of your existing ones first. And then if you have time or collected that data, then don't spend a lot of time and effort on that newbie. Take care of your existing stuff first. Okay. Let's see if we have any questions here. It's 12:39. I've been getting a lot of questions lately about target area description, believe it or not, right? And it could have been that y'all, let's be for real again, may have inherited a proposal. Maybe you didn't write it. Or you wrote it with someone else, or whatever the reason, you can't remember how you figured out what your target area description is. Well, for talent search, I always think first about our schools. What schools are we currently in? And what schools do we want to remain in? And then I work backwards from that to see what the target area should be. The areas, what do they call it? The boundaries, the target school or the enrollment, not even target, the school boundaries. I'm looking at those because I'm making the big assumption. It all depends how it is. How it is, Teresa, in some parts of Fort Worth, kids were being transferred over or they pick whatever. Like Arlington Heights, right? There in Fort Worth is smack in the middle of a really, swanky neighborhood. It used to be. And then, you had a lot of students that were going there because anyway, it wasn't as easy as, okay, let's just look at the areas, but you have to start that way first. If we don't know anything about, the unique situation of the neighborhood, but I always look at the target schools first that I want to keep. And from there branch out to look at their enrollment boundary and refine those neighborhoods around the schools as sub-target areas that will equal one target area. So for example, we could never do the city of Fort Worth. I could never show need in the census for the percentage of low-income families and the percentage of people that are in the target area without a four-year degree. I could never show that we had a need compared to state or national rates because I was doing the whole city. So we had to break it down to the areas around the target schools. So that's where that spreadsheet comes in, where you start looking at the addresses, the blocks, the neighborhoods around those target areas, around the target schools. And you may have to come up with 6, 9, or 10 different neighborhoods or areas around the target schools and pull the data as you can, for census for those areas And then the average becomes the information for your target area. Okay, so for example, the Talent Search grants proposed target area is the Diamond Hill Jarvis area of Fort Worth, located north Fort Worth, and consisting of the following neighborhoods, within the city of Fort Worth. Okay, notice I didn't, and that's about as detailed as I'll get for the reader. I'll just quickly tell them as fast as I can what will consist of the one target area. Some of y'all will deal with 3 or 4 counties, but it's one target area made up of 3 or 4 counties. And on a spreadsheet, you have all the data collected for each one of those areas to add up to an average for the whole target area. But for the tables for the census, I just call it target area compared to state or national rate. I don't show the breakdown to the reader for each area. That's done on the spreadsheet. Okay, so I guess what I'm saying is when you go to look at that, again, or look at your proposal, your needs section, your first paragraph should be describing your target area. And it should end with, if your talent search, it should end with the target area. Within the target area are the following 3 or 4 or 5 or 9 target schools. And you briefly list them, EOC, I think for EOC, it's a little easier. I mean, you don't have to have target schools, but you also want to say, we couldn't show need for the whole city of Fort Worth. We'd have to look at pockets of neighborhoods and then on the spreadsheet, come up with the average and then translate over to the reader that the target area for the EOC project of X, Y, and Z agency consists of inner city or the neighborhoods within stop 6, the hospital district are located in the middle of Fort Worth, and these neighborhoods that are that have this combined population of this, and that the breakdown of the folks that live there is this. And again, it's okay to mention the population of a target area because that's a fact. We just cannot use that, and we never have in TRIO for Talent Search or EOC as a focus on eligibility for services. But it's perfectly fine to, it's a fact, how many Hispanics, whites, African Americans live in the target area, reside in the target area. But that's it. We're not going to go on and on about it or show that there is more need for a certain, that Hispanic males have a higher dropout rate. Not even mention that. It's probably I know it's the case, but I'm not going to go there after I make my initial description about the target area, where it's located, how far away it is from a major city, just in case we have a reader who's not sure where something is, if it's rural or urban, how many square miles perhaps total. And then just tell me from this point forward, it's going to be one target area made up of these sub areas that we, determine have need surrounding the target schools or within a city or a county. Okay, Teresa, I don't have anything to add to that, but that's really, people really can't get started sometimes if they don't have that discussion or clarification.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't really have anything to add. I think that, it's important that we keep that in mind as we begin the proposal, because it kind of lays the foundation. And you want to gain the readers, attention early on. And so, doing that in the beginning is a good strategy in the grant writing process.
I think it's also good to keep and to go back there again. If you write it out, then everybody on your team will stay focused. Or when they're collecting the data, they'll say, you know what, that neighborhood is killing us. We're going to have to not, right? They're not showing a need and they're bringing the average down. So maybe we walk away from that neighborhood around that school, but 4 neighborhoods go to that school. So we won't mention that neighborhood, but the other 3. See what I'm saying? So it could be a lot of back and forth. So that description initially they'll have to match, right? It can be modified and revised or fine-tuned, so to speak, right? So start with that. Look at that. Does it make sense to y'all? It might, if you weren't there to write it, it may make no sense. Why, right? I'm discovering that like when we have some clients, most of our clients get their target area description. Now, 5 years later, we're trying to figure out, okay, the schools are the same, but where are they getting these numbers? And we can't find the crumbs. So if you have that data collection spreadsheet that's separate, it'll always have a place where you can keep the crumbs, I guess, to follow your way as to how did we get to the stuff that we put in the grant? They say where are the details to that? Because we don't want to bug the reader or bog down the reviewer with the details, but we want to have the details ready so we can figure out, if anything, 5 years from now, how did we get those rates? So it's kind of like a trail, to find your way back. Unfortunately, a lot of people right now are struggling to find the method to the madness and how they came to this description. So they're kind of having to start all over again. And that's okay, but you need to go ahead and do that, knowing that it may have to be tweaked, because a lot of times the whole city or the whole county initially doesn't show the need until you start slicing and dicing. Okay. We do have a question here. Can we include informal check-ins or reflection sessions with students as part of our qualitative evaluation? Yes, I think actually you should. When you get to the evaluation plan, there's going to be a part where you talk about quantitative and qualitative. And there's also a part where they talk about formative and summative being like the APR, external evaluations. Your formative evaluation could include goals that that you can measure during the year. So one of them could be an internal goal that at the end of every semester during the year, that way would be formative, that you all have some sessions or a check-in so that you get that feedback qualitative. So you can kill two birds with one stone, or three, actually. You could say in your formative evaluation, you have an internal goal that's qualitative to get feedback from students at the end of each semester, so that would be good. And Teresa is a master at evaluation. As an evaluator, you wouldn't come in to do it, you'd come to look at the results, right?
Right. And the biggest piece is I think that it's a strategy that definitely shows it's an approach to the strategy that actually strengthens your evaluation plan. And the reason is because it shows that you are collecting the student voice, which is so important, or participant voice in the instance of EOC. And of course, you're using all this information to inform program improvement. So, from an evaluator's perspective, that may be doing an external evaluator coming in, taking a look at that information, but also from a reader's perspective, a peer review reading is also helpful. Again, going to the student center piece, and that you're being responsive to the student's needs. You're getting this feedback so that you can understand the challenges, the success, the experience of your participants. That's always a great way for your from a perspective of formal assessment. Even though it may appear to be informal, it is, when you're presenting it, it is a formal way of um, assessing what you're doing as a program.
And that could be one of the ways, right? So you're probably thinking there in EOC or talent search, how am I going to get somebody to do an informal check-in and all that stuff? Well, this can be option B, and it could be done with, like in talent search, I'm thinking some of my seniors that I might have more of a connection with, especially toward the end of the semester, because we tend to deal with them more directly. Maybe I can get it through them, do an informal check-in reflection. With some of my clients, this never says that 100% will be surveyed or 100% will participate of the ones that you sought out. So there has to be some realistic, I guess, threshold or goal of how many or what type of student. It could be just with your GED students in EOC, or just with your college students that are receiving services, or just with the high school grads with no post. You can focus on them. And talent search, that's for EOC. In talent search, I can focus on just the seniors, for example, to get that. But in both EOC or talent search, on a more frequent basis, what's to say that after you meet with someone, you send them immediately a text that has 2 or 3 little questions where they can mark off, or one question, like I get all the time when I get my dry cleaning I pick up. They want to know how was the service, and they ask me 2 questions. Like, my oil change, right away, I'm driving away and I get that follow-up text. If you can get that, and if some people, answer, then you can have a steady stream of perhaps, more direct qualitative feedback to add on to the more in exchange, or check-in, like you said, reflection session. So you see what I'm saying? You'll get hopefully shoot for more of the immediate, right after the service is provided, real quick text back where they give you ratings, in addition to the informal check-ins with a smaller number of I guess, students that you focus on to make it realistic, right? We're so busy identifying, recruiting, and selecting. We don't want to put something in the proposal just to get funded and not actually implement it. So I think that's something that is reasonable. We're not saying everybody's going to get it. We have a focus for the check-ins, but then we try to establish some sort of system where we can get immediate feedback as well that goes into a spreadsheet, so we can say, survey says literally this percentage of people so far are happy with our services or not happy with our services so far, as an ongoing thing, always to have, in addition to this check-in that could happen with a smaller number of intended recipients or participants. Okay, great.
Lisa, can I add right quick? And so having said that, I want to clarify. So informal check-ins and reflective sessions, while they may be presented to the participants as informal, and the way that you're doing is informal, it is a formal strategy in qualitative analysis or what have you. So, definitely it's a good thing to do
Yeah,
that.
I would try to do both.
Mhm.
I might get more in numbers giving me the not, the short little feedback, and less numbers of participants in these check-ins, but I'll get more information from the check-ins,
Mhm.
right? So together it would be, it's kind of two methods to get don't put your eggs in one basket is what I'm saying, right? Have two ways to do it and see what we come up with to be realistic. And you could also establish an internal goal in your evaluation plan that you state, you know what, we're going to shoot for a certain percentage of our clients and our participants, stating that, they're pleased or more than satisfied with services, and then every year we'll try to work on that sort of thing. Okay, so just, something to think about. Great question. I love it. And Teresa, I love evaluation. I used to hate it. I dreaded it. And I know why, because we used to have someone else write our evaluation plan at the Boys and Girls Club, because I wasn't smart enough to do it, right? So they got somebody to do it, and that evaluation plan I never did because it was ridiculous. It got us funded, but I never looked at it, and I kind of felt bad, like I'm never even looking at that. What if someone asks us, we did it? Oh, don't worry about it. And then you get so busy doing everything else, you don't think about it, except you just do your APR. Everybody's happy, no one's called us on it. Then they started talking about it a lot more, and then I realized, man, you know I need to learn how to love it, or to at least work on it so that they get what they need, but we also are doing something that is reasonable and
Yeah.
that we don't avoid, right? And that's the challenging part, is to implement things, write it so that it impresses the readers, plus it's realistic for us to do in the crazy world of talent search and EOC, correct? So that's the thing. That's the challenge. Okay. So don't write yourself, be careful when you do that evaluation plan. Don't do it so, because you're going to have to rise to the occasion, or quickly rewrite it, when you get funded and implement something. Don't do like me and ignore it. Okay. All right. So that brings us to, we've got about 4 minutes left. Does anyone have any other questions? Anything going on? Please check out, y'all, in our shop and our YouTube channel. We've got a lot of free videos there of our free I can't even talk, free webinars. We've got these coming up. The budget management one, we're almost maxed out on that. And again, I'm not sure what, I've tried to see what Sia was going to cover so that we don't duplicate, but I think we're going to do a different take on it. And try to, show you how you can have your own Excel spreadsheet to monitor, and maybe they will too, who knows? Maybe they'll give you a spreadsheet. We'll just show you what it looks like so you can mimic it, but maybe get, a spreadsheet from that, 350 or 700, right? And so these workshops are going on here. The Lunch and Learns, remember this session and all previous sessions will be on the YouTube channel. And don't forget, if you guys are onboarding or if you want to participate in our proposal writing courses, check those out. And then also we have a talent search ready to go. We are working, I know Donna's waiting on me on the EOC development courses for EOC, the perfect onboarding. I think I got it. There's a couple of things she's waiting on for me, but talent search is good to go, y'all. So for those of you in talent search, you've got new staff or you want to do a staff training, you know, we had 7 of the 12 training grants were canceled. Teresa, as you know, y'all have your priority 1 training. I don't know if your schedule's out for this year or probably not. Is it not out?
No, it's a P6.
Oh, you have P6. Okay. We have P1.
The schedule's not out yet, but I'll let
Okay.
you.
Yeah, let us know. We'll promote it. You know, I'm all for, you know, if y'all can get there, but you know, nothing's for free, right? Because usually you have to travel to some of these. Some of them are virtual. But these are not free, but they're actually less than sending somebody if you have to send them for travel. But we've got these professional development courses ready to go. Upward Bound is next, and EOC is coming soon, of course. But these are ready to go if you've got staff and just, you know, self-paced, how it works, ready to begin. And so just let us know if you have any questions about that. Thank you, Teresa, so much for helping us out, and also Donna and Leah, and all of y'all for participating and for your questions. Anything comes up or if you'd like us to talk about something specific next time, send me an email. We're going to be posting something later today. Check out our blog post about some of the attachments that came out with the GANs, just to have a discussion about that in case you're wondering. So keep an eye out for that. And as always, you know, you guys have a great week. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Teresa. Let's go ahead.